The avoidant person projects an image of emotional invulnerability and indifference that masks their profound capacity to be wounded by specific types of loss and rejection. While they appear unaffected by the emotional turmoil that devastates other attachment styles, certain experiences penetrate their defensive armor and leave permanent psychological scars that fundamentally alter their internal landscape. When someone who genuinely understood them walks away with finality and visible relief rather than desperate pursuit, it creates trauma that challenges every defensive belief they constructed about themselves and relationships. The scar of being truly seen, then rejected. The avoidant person experiences devastating emotional scarring when someone who saw beneath their defenses and understood their wounds ultimately chooses to leave. This rejection proves particularly traumatic because it cannot be rationalized through their usual narratives about others being too needy or failing to understand them. When someone who truly comprehended their struggles, recognized their defensive patterns as protection mechanisms, and saw their potential for growth still decides they are not worth the continued investment, it confirms their deepest fear about being fundamentally unlovable. This wound becomes permanent scar because it validates their core belief that even when someone knows their truth and understands their limitations, they will ultimately abandon them. The person who left did not misunderstand them or judge them unfairly, but rather saw them completely and still chose their own well-being over continuing the relationship. This leaves the avoidant person with undeniable evidence that their authentic self is insufficient to sustain love, creating wound that no future relationship can heal because the scar tissue prevents them from ever fully trusting that being known will not lead to abandonment. The scar of witnessing someone thrive without them. The avoidant person sustains permanent emotional damage when they witness their former partner flourishing spectacularly in their absence, radiating happiness and vitality that contradicts their unconscious belief in their own importance. This visible thriving communicates that their presence was limiting rather than enhancing, that their departure created opportunity rather than devastation. The scar forms from recognizing they were not essential to someone's happiness as they assumed, that their significance was vastly overestimated by their ego. This wound becomes permanent because it shatters their defensive narrative about being superior through emotional detachment. They confront painful reality that someone did not just survive their absence but dramatically improved without them, suggesting their relationship contribution was net negative rather than positive. The avoidant person carries the scar as constant reminder that their defensive patterns do not protect them from pain but rather guarantee they will watch others flourish while they remain trapped in isolation. The wound prevents them from ever fully believing again that their withdrawal holds power or that their presence meaningfully contributes to others' well-being. The scar of experiencing their own medicine. The avoidant person suffers lasting trauma when they finally experience the emotional landscape they consistently created for others, the uncertainty, the powerlessness, the desperate longing combined with the absence of reciprocation. When someone who once pursued them maintains absolute indifference despite their emerging feelings, it forces them into the vulnerable position they spent years avoiding. They discover firsthand the pain of wanting someone who does not want them back, of caring more than the other person reciprocates. This reversal creates permanent scar because it provides a visceral understanding of the suffering their defensive patterns inflicted on partners who loved them. The empathy that arrives through direct experience of their own tactics proves more devastating than any accusation or confrontation could have been. They carry this wound as embodied knowledge of the damage they caused others, creating guilt and self-loathing that cannot be rationalized away through defensive narratives about maintaining healthy boundaries. The scar of permanent loss through their own patterns. The avoidant person sustains irreparable emotional damage when they recognize too late that their defensive patterns destroyed something irreplaceable.